Okay, so I saw this on Twitter. Someone said this Tyla debut is insane. And then someone quote retweeted and said, best executed debut era since Arianagrande, I fear. So I kind of just wanted to look at how have their debut eras done, and also just what are some of the most successful debuts that I can think of on top of my head, and kind of just have that conversation into like what goes into it and all those things. So here's kind of Tyla's stats. Water was very successful, as we know, number 7 on Billboard Hot 100, got multiple platinum certifications, and she also got her Grammy for that song, I believe. Truth or Dare was a moderate hit. The album did well, 24 on US Billboard 200, which isn't bad for a debut album, and within the top 20 of a few other countries as well. In terms of the case for Ariana's debut album, Yours Truly, here's a single run. I think this is a relatively decent single run, honestly. I don't know why Popular Song was released as a single and not something like Honeymoon Avenue or Lovin' It, but I mean, I digress. The Way was a very successful single for her. She did put her hearts up as her debut single, but she doesn't even acknowledge that. We know that she started with The Way. And so here's the stats. And so this was the number 1 album on Billboard 200, over 138,000 units sold first week, and it would make her the 15th female artist to ever debut at number 1 in the US with her debut album, and it was certified platinum RIAA. It was top 10 in all those other countries as well. And then there's the success of the singles for that album. In terms of a modern female album that has been one of the best debuts, I definitely have to give it to Oliviarodrigo. So I just disagree with the original tweet because, yes, you know, they both had successful eras, but how quickly do we forget about Oliviarodrigo and what she was able to do with Sour and kind of the cultural moment that was, and I'm about to read off the stats. So this single run is definitely one of the best single runs I've ever seen. Driver's License, a number 1 song. I believe this was for 8 weeks. Deja Vu peaked at number 3. Good For You was another number 1 song for her. Traitor and Brutal also had success in their own rights. Not to mention that pretty much every single song trended on TikTok, so you had that moment as well. The Driver's License music video, everyone was using that for transition, so that was cool. Then just here are some of the other stats for the album as well. And yeah, this album got some really great critical acclaim whenever it came out. Also, as of May 2024, it is the most streamed album by a female artist on Spotify. She's streaming well, people are buying the records, her concerts are selling out. I think she's doing arenas now. Like, Oliviarodrigo is very successful, and I made a whole video kind of talking about why I think she's so successful. I'll link it below. But I mean, look at her Spotify streams. This is absolutely insane. 4 hits off of 1 album, okay? And then if you go look at the album streams, it's very impressive that people are actually like listening all the way to the end for the most part. I think that her team executed this era pretty well. She needs to get a new team, but I digress. But I mean, yeah, she was really able to find a fan base. She's able to sell records. She's able to stream well. She connects with a lot of people. She has a great personality. She's doing a lot right. In terms of some older albums that were really successful debuts for female artists, of course, I have to talk about Mariah Carey's iconic debut album. So here's a single run. And for context, 4 of these 5 songs were number 1. There's Got to Be a Way was only released as a single in the UK. Vision of Love was number 1 for 4 weeks. Her debut single, excellent. And then here's some other stats. But I mean, Vision of Love was very influential. Without that, we don't get Beyonce, Christina Aguilera, a lot of these other singers. Like, Beyonce said Vision of Love is what made her want to sing. This album, number 1, 11 consecutive weeks, and 15 times platinum. With the debut, mind you. She also got 2 Grammys for this album. So she got Best New Artist, and then I believe she got Best Pop Vocal Performance for Vision of Love, which was so richly deserved. And Columbia spent a lot of money promoting her. I'm pretty sure that they reshot the Vision of Love video or parts of it and spent a lot of money on that because they didn't like it. And yeah, like, they put a lot of effort into like how they were going to break her and all that stuff, and they just wanted her to be huge. Like, that was like part of it. And I just think that they did a really great job promoting her. The SNL performances, she did all the interviews. Like, yeah, she was really everywhere, and we love it. Then we got Whitney Houston's debut album. Whitney, yeah, she broke a lot of records with this album. So here's a single run for Whitney's debut album. The big hits for this album, I would say You Give Good Love, Saving All My Love for You, How Will I Know, and Greatest Love of All. 4 hits on 1 album, yet again. And so here's the stats for this album. This is the best-selling debut album by a female artist, and it is one of the best-selling albums of all time, with sales of over 25 million worldwide, and she was able to pick up some Grammys for this. She should have got a Best New Artist nomination. Back then, they didn't let her do it, but now you can be out for 10 years and you get to be nominated for Best New Artist, so, you know, they kind of did her wrong with that. I don't know if some of y'all count this or not, because Billie did have a debut EP, Don't Smile at Me, her best work still, but, you know, if you guys want to count Billie's debut album, it was a pretty successful era overall. I think this is whenever I first really heard of her, to be honest with you. Look at the single run for this. You know, the big hit off of this album was Bad Guy, which I think is overrated, but I digress. But, you know, we had some other hits. We had some other hits. When the Party's Over was excellent. And here are all the other stats for it as well. And yeah, it just really took the world by storm because of how different that it was. This entire era, her with the blue hair and all that stuff, like, she just really took the world by storm. And she got all the big four categories at the Grammys, to a lot of controversy. Next up, I wanted to talk about Alicia Keys' debut, Songs in A Minor. Here's a singles run. I really would have liked to see her do Jane Doe as a single. I think that would have been nice. But I mean, Fun was a smash hit off of this album. You know it, you've heard it 1,000 times, but it's still a great song. Woman's Worth is great. How Come You Don't Call Me was a great moment, and Girlfriend, yeah. So this is a good singles run. And then here's all the success of the album. So another #1 album, 7 million copies in the US, 12 million worldwide, and she also got 5 Grammy Awards for this album as well. So those were just some female eras where I felt like these are really successful, and I also feel like the record label promoted them well. Like, yes, I had a big focus on chart success for this video, but I think in general, just them putting out them as artists, getting their public imaging right, getting them right with interviews and performances and all that stuff, I feel like all these artists did that well as a debut. So yeah, I feel like all of that kind of ties in and stuff, and people don't actually have good debuts anymore. They're not really memorable. I love a good memorable debut single, a good debut album, because a lot of people's debuts, they're forgettable. They don't really pop out till the sophomore album. So those are just some examples of some really successful debut eras to me. I'm sure that I forgot about a lot of them. I just did the first ones that came to mind. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you agree with this tweet? What are some of your favorite debut eras of all time? And let's kind of continue that conversation there. But this was fun to do.